Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story, I think it's only going to be one season. Yeah, it's a limited series. So unfortunate because it's so good so far, but this is episodes 3 and 4. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe and hit the bell, and leave a comment down below. Please be patient. I know you guys are telling me, girl, get to the end, get to the end. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. The episode starts with the excitement of Coronation Day, and we see Violet, who is the young Viscountess. She's excited for Coronation Day. Her mom, not so much, because the mom is not keen on mixing with the others.
Do you know, the men can go to White's now, like regular gentlemen. All the families of the ton got their titles and land from the king.
It is not the same.
It is. Several of them are from royal families of their own and have much more money than we do.
Violet Ledger, stop talking this instant.
Oh, that was a read. That was a read, and I loved it because realistically, the only thing separating the other side to the main people in the ton is skin color. A lot of the people who are being ostracized actually do come from royal bloodlines, but because they are of darker complexion, they don't get the same respect or titles as the other people in the town. Come on, baby Violet. You better tell your mama what's good, okay? Because a lot of those people might be a lot more deserving than your own mother. Time jump to future Charlotte. She is still very frustrated with her daughters, wondering why can't they just create children?
Your wombs are likely dry and useless. Spinsters, can you marry a dollhouse? Can you embroider me an heir? Then shush.
This is a sidebar, but speaking of spinsters, it's so interesting hearing the word spinster and like the connotation with it and everything, because I think of my mom. I was looking at my mom and dad's marriage certificate a few years back, and on it wrote my mom as a spinster. And spinster, if you don't know the meaning, is like beyond the age of marriage, technically. Like you're too old to be married. She was 24. I'm 27 this year. Oh, oh my God. We cut back to the young Charlotte storyline, right? And we have Lady Danbury, who is talking to the princess, letting her know that things between George and Charlotte are going great. When in reality, we know that they're not as great as she's portraying, but they also are at the same time. I don't know. Right now, it's a little bit confusing.
Can you please help me get this off my head? Are you coming?
Yes, because I would very much like to have the opportunity to no longer hear your voice.
It is a nightmare.
I am so sorry.
I hate everything about him. I hate his ridiculous face. I hate his voice. I hate the way that he breathes.
At this point, it makes sense later. But at this point, I was like, why are they pretending like they hate each other? Because I'm sorry. These sex scenes, honey, that's passion to me. Honey, that is lust. That is fervor for your partner. That is love. Okay. And every other day, that's not y'all even just trying to get pregnant. Y'all are trying to be intimate. Like, come on now. It did not make any kind of sense to me. This is quite the honeymoon. They were doing a lot more passionate loving than a lot of loving relationships would on their honeymoon. I'm just saying. Now that the honeymoon is over, Charlotte wants to start doing some queenly things, hosting some events, some balls at the palace, but her husband doesn't like events happening. So she's asking Brimsley, like, what's the reason? And he's kind of playing coy. So we make the deduction that the reason why the king probably wouldn't want people over at the palace for a long period of time is because of his illness that he's going through. We did see on Coronation Day, he was seen by a physician who isn't publicly known by the palace. So he wasn't one of the initial physicians who were authorized. It was like an add-on after the fact because the mom had to extend her repertoire of doctors to fix her son. So this is one of them, right? And of course, he doesn't want anybody to know that he's sick, especially his wife. Well, actually, especially the constituents, because they'll think that an insane king is unfit to rule the land, right? And so right now, his concern is how do I protect everybody else from knowing that I'm not a good king, you know? Later on, like in episode 4, we do learn that he sees himself as literally like a beast, like an animal. Ugh, and it's so sad, but let me not jump ahead. We're gonna get to it. Even though everybody in the palace is not a fan of this whole ball situation, Lady Danbury is going to pitch for the first ball of the season, but she's going to have it at her place. So she's making this pitch to the princess. So the princess is like, absolutely not.
It sounds like Lady Danbury now has the upper hand.
No, of course not.
If Lady Danbury throws a ball and this side does not attend, the palace will lose all moral authority.
I know that you will not attend, as the king does not accept social engagements.
Is that not odd? Do you know why?
I do not. You are our queen. Your focus should be your country, your people, our side.
Lady Danbury has a really good point, though, in throwing the ball. It does establish the alliance that the palace has to the other side of the people in the Ton. And then it sets the tone of, you know, these titles are not just, oh, here you go, it's just a formality, it doesn't really mean anything. Having the Danburys be the ones to host is like, yes, we gave you a title and you are now an integral part of the Ton and the monarchy or whatever, you know? So I'm here for Lady Danbury's pitch. It's unfortunate that the people aren't riding with her. And it's like, well, we didn't want y'all to be there anyways. Okay, because even if it was back in time, and I know this is fictional, but I'm invested, okay? Even if this was back in time, I know we were lit. I just know we were lit. And if you know, you know. So Lady Danbury obviously is asking Charlotte, like, as the queen, you need to have my back, otherwise this whole experiment is gonna flop. And so she's struggling because she's just removed from home, she's recently married, now she's a queen, she can't even do queenly things, she's not connecting with her husband, all this stuff. So she's not listening to Lady Danbury at first, but as she explains more on the importance of Charlotte taking a stand, Charlotte now steps into her queen role and is like, you know what, you're right, this is what I need to do. A part of her queen roles is to kind of put her husband in check, honestly. And she's putting him in check in a nice way, basically saying, I see what you're going through. And as tough as it is, as your wife, I need you to let me in. You can be human with me.
You live for the happiness and the misery of a great
Charlotte.
nation. No, I am saying I understand. You must feel caged. No wonder you spend so much time in the garden. You are a person to me. No more even days and odd days.
We should just have days.
Guys, I'm so easy. I am so easy because did I not gush over this scene right here? Oh, God, when, okay? Charlotte was 17. I'm 10 years older than her. Come on. Anyways, she's able to win him over to go to the ball that ended up being greenlit because Lady Danbury sent out invitations unbeknownst to the princess or anybody's knowledge, honestly. So Charlotte and George show up to the ball, and it was a big stance because at first people weren't even mingling. People did show up because they heard the royal family was coming, but after seeing the royal family actually be there and Violet's dad mix and mingle with the other side, it really was uniting the Ton as one.
Agatha, how wonderful of you to invite us.
I did not think you would be attending.
Of course we are attending.
She tried to miss it. But then she received a personal note from His Majesty the King.
With one evening, one party, we have created more change, stepped forward more than Britain has in the last century, more than I would have dreamed.
So like this big thing happened, you know, it's exciting. Everybody's in high spirits, okay? Especially Sir Danbury. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was watching this scene like, and thank God it's fiction because I should not take pleasure in this scene at all. I was watching this scene like, now when is this man gonna die? I literally wrote in my notes, when is Lord Danbury going to die? Then boom, dead.
We are done.
We are done.
Wait here. I will make sure everything is dignified for my lady, and then you can come and help.
She's free. She is free. Thank God she can now do her thing. And I hope that this leads to her exploring her great love. Because you guys were saying my questions are going to be answered. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see Lady Danbury find her perfect love. You know what I mean? But yeah, he's dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. This also later on explains why Lady Danbury and the Viscountess had an encounter in the church where the Viscountess was mourning the loss of her husband, especially since this was a time that would have been his birthday, basically. And Lady Danbury said to her, "Be grateful." And obviously, when someone's in mourning, you don't want to hear "be grateful," but she's saying, "I loathed my husband. I loathed the life that I lived. And you have the luxury of mourning somebody you truly loved. And I don't have that. I have to do things in spite of this man to feel better about myself and to feel better about the things that I experienced with him." Could you imagine? Oh, it's so traumatic. But in context, I understood what she was saying. Time jump to future Charlotte, who is asking Brimsley, "What is it about my daughters that makes them not want to explore marriage and kids? Like, why are they just standing around here doing nothing?"
Cannot imagine. They are beautiful, wonderful, kind, charitable, pleasing young women.
Brimsley, do not attempt to flatter me by talking about my children. It makes me dislike you more. Answer the question.
You are still his queen. Forever frozen. Forever waiting. Your daughters could not leave you here, trapped in time.
At first, I didn't fully understand this scene. But what I gathered was because of the life that George had to live, or endure even, let me say, she could never fully be her true self as long as George was alive. Because she would always be technically in his shadow, being in service of him, making sure that he is okay. That's what I gathered. If that wasn't it, y'all let me know. But the daughters looked at her like, "We cannot leave our mother until she comes into her own." And unfortunately, that requires our father to pass away. And so if he would have passed at a younger age, yes, she would have been distraught, but eventually she would have been able to pick herself up and move on as an independent person. But as long as George is alive, she will always be in servitude to him. Now, they put a little bit more context behind that scene by taking us back to young Charlotte, who is now seeing the extent of George's illness because, things are better for the two of them. So they have been spending a lot more time together, which means now she's seeing more of these episodes that he has.
Phone. I hate you.
Venus, my angel, I'm here! I am here! Do you see her?
I do, Your Majesty.
Say hello!
Hello, Venus.
I am Venus. Right here. I am Venus.
You are Venus.
Yes. Here.
Oh, you guys, I cried. I'm even getting emo right now just seeing this man be consumed by his own mind, and he cannot control it. You just see him spiraling, and he only found solace in something that he couldn't even obtain. Like it's intangible, this Venus fixation. And so her connecting herself to Venus so that maybe he would shift his attention from the planet to Charlotte, and then her trying to bring him back in. And guys, it made me cry. And the main reason why it made me cry is because in a lot of people's vows, there's this line of in sickness and in health. We underestimate the extent of what the sickness part is because, for one, we don't want to have to experience it. And two, we like to think we'd be able to bear it no matter what because we love this person. But once you actually see and experience what this sickness is, if it happens to your partner, obviously sickness doesn't happen for everybody. Sometimes it's just old age. It's heartbreaking. And all you can do is observe. There's no intervention that you as the wife could do in George's case to cure him. This is something that he's always going to have to go through. And I'm unsure, like, is he schizophrenic? Like, what? I don't know what it is yet. Don't tell me. I want to figure it out by myself. But man, it is really sad. It is really heartbreaking. But I loved that Charlotte just like snapped into, how am I going to help my husband? You know, not like a questioning of, oh my gosh, like he's crazy. Why would you guys partner me up with somebody who's crazy? Oh, well, she kind of had a little bit moment. Like she had a little bit of a moment. Ugh, I can't speak. She, the next morning after this episode, talks to the princess and she's saying, you stripped me away from my life. How dare you put me into a marriage with somebody not knowing the full extent of who I'm with. They explore that in episode 4. But before we get there, the beginning portion of episode 4 is basically adding context to the reasons why George wasn't able to spend time with Charlotte. And it's the fact that his episodes were getting worse and worse approaching the wedding. So the princess implored a doctor who had unconventional practices, but it seemed to be effective. So that's what they went with.
You command an entire kingdom. You can command yourself too.
Wait, no. He is right.
If the Queen were to ever see me like that, if she were to flee from me, God forbid, if I were to hurt her, surely there must be something that you can do.
If you cannot govern yourself, you're not fit to govern others. Until then, I shall govern you. Do you understand me, boy?
You and I, Doctor, have accomplished nothing. Anything accomplished for me has been the work of my bride. Her methods have done more for me than you and your chair ever could.
First off, thank God for technological advances because, oh my goodness, the methods these people went through to seek medical intervention is just insane. But eventually, like, things were starting to pick up for him, and so that's why he was spending more time with Charlotte. But he overheard Charlotte having that conversation with his mom, and so he wanted to go back to the doctor. But let's talk about the doctor for a second. The whole MO for the doctor was, I'm going to make you better. And there were moments where it seemed like George was doing better, but now the doctor was on a power trip. And I'm like, hold on. You're missing the plot here, doctor. The goal was to make George better. And George was getting better. But the power of being in charge of the king was getting to the doctor's head. He was on a power trip because basically he held the empire in his hands. Why? Because the mental health of the king was in his hands, right? I control the king controls the land, therefore I control the land. You thought. So they also add some context as to why George had that episode that one night when he was talking to Venus. Basically, he was about to cut off the doctor. However, Charlotte had learned about the doctor and she confided in the doctor, and the doctor then said, oh, you're with child.
Perhaps I failed to speak clearly before. You will never treat me again. You are no longer my doctor.
Oh, a pity. Nevertheless, I remain the Queen's.
But why would she need a doctor?
Well, because obviously she is with child. She was not sure, but I am.
George finding out that he was about to be a dad was absolutely sensory overload, so it does make sense. I'm so interested to see where this is going to go because there's about 14 more to come. So I wonder, like, does it get better with each child? Does it get worse? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna watch and I'm gonna review, and I hope you guys are gonna stick around. I know I'm taking my time, but I just want to savor it, okay? Maybe I'll book the last 2 episodes too. Yeah, let me know. Let me know in the comments below if you want 5 and 6 together or 5 and 6 separate. And then I'll follow your lead. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.